Hi, this is Vish Sanghani from CIB Learning and Development, and I'd like to talk to you about the future of learning in CIB. The title of this presentation is Reimagine Learning. We cannot reimagine learning moving forward without understanding the shifts that are happening in the future world of work. The pace of change compared to the last 10 to 15 years versus the pace of change over the next 10 to 15 years is fundamentally different. The waves are getting bigger, the change is getting bigger, the speed is getting bigger, so we need to respond accordingly. The learning strategies of the past got us here, but it probably is not going to get us into the future. So we need to fundamentally reimagine our learning approach for the CIB organization. For the purpose of this presentation, I've got 7+7 messages for you. I'd like to share with you 7 key trends that are happening out there right now as we speak in the world of learning, and 7 ways in which the CIB learning team will respond to these changes in partnership with human capital to delivering a fresh, new and exciting wave of learning for the future. If you look at this picture, it's quite a futuristic architectural design of the future world of work. What's interesting is the environment outside the offices. I can see a baby being carried to work on the right-hand bottom corner. I can see some agricultural activities happening on the left-hand bottom corner. You can see the office space and the way people like to interact, socialize, creating quite a disruptive environment to the traditional box-style layout of our offices. This slide looks at, again, a very non-traditional way of working. And this is where a lot of the people, and especially the new generations, would like to have an office environment in which they can experiment, explore, imagine, and be creative compared to our traditional mindsets. So what does this mean for our response to the business of the future? What does this mean to the response of the needs of our employees and our people in the future from an HC perspective and from a learning perspective? If you look at this slide, it explains quite briefly the evolution of the employee from the past to the future. If we just look at some of the bubbles that we've highlighted here, our employees want to use any device. They want to create their own ladder. They want to rely on collaboration technologies. They want to focus on adaptive learning and the whole consumerization of learning, where they want learning anywhere, anytime, on any device. The career path or the career ladder is probably not the traditional ladder, but moving more towards what is called a lattice. So how do we create, through HC, strategies and offerings and solutions that can help employees maximize their potential, be more, but yet not necessarily always by climbing the ladder, but by growing horizontally across the organization? This slide by Burson, by Deloitte, talks about the modern learner. Some quite interesting facts here for us to consider in the design of the future of learning. I think we all deal with the dilemma of being overwhelmed. I think every year we start the year thinking, oh my God, this year the pace is just getting faster and faster, and it's like a hamster wheel that just doesn't stop. So how do you respond to a learner who is overwhelmed? We need to offer learning differently. Gone are the days where you can always say you can go away for a week or 2 off-site for a learning program. That probably might not be the best response to what their needs are, because they want something on demand, they want something that's collaborative, they want something that's social, and they want to be empowered to manage the learning at their time when it's convenient for them. If you look at the number 9, the red number 9 on the slide, it says people touch their smartphones 9 times every hour. If you look at the number 4, they say most learners don't want to watch a video that's more than 4 minutes long. Our learners are also impatient. So if you look at all of this, we really need to take a step back and think about what are the needs of the modern learner and how are we re-engineering and re-solutioning our offerings to meet these demands. This slide very simply puts it that the learner of the future is impatient. They want to watch video because they love to watch video, not from an entertainment perspective, but we all know that video is always able to signify a message much better than, let's say, a document can. So there's a great opportunity for us. How do we make it accessible on a mobile device or multiple devices, from a desktop computer to a laptop to a tablet as well as a mobile phone? And finally, we shouldn't forget, in all the crazy world of technology around us, that people also ultimately want to connect, they want to collaborate, they want to share. And how do we create social learning experiences as part of our learning strategy? So all of this means that our perspective needs to change. We need to look at employees as customers that need to be satisfied, rather than students that are pressured into traditional learning classrooms, because that's really where the employee experience is built. So hopefully I've convinced you now that the needs of the modern learner has changed. The needs of you have changed. The needs of your people have changed. So let's look at some of the solutions. And here's 7 trends that we're seeing out there in the market over the last 2 to 3 years that fundamentally will impact the way learning will be reinvented moving forward. Do you know what a MOOC is? It's got nothing to do with a cow, actually. Any ideas what a MOOC is? A MOOC is a massive open online course. Here are some examples of very, very large MOOCs that are available out there and have been extremely successful over the last couple of years. Companies like Coursera, edX, Open University, FutureLearn, Udacity, and so on. A MOOC fundamentally changes the experience a learner has with online content. It's typically delivered by an expert or a subject matter expert on a certain topic, and not everyone needs to even attend at the same time. It can be managed at a learner's pace, at the learner's time, whenever they are, whenever they want to. So it really is a global platform for learners from all across the world to have access to content equally. It has fundamentally shifted the learning landscape at a global level. So that's a MOOC. Let's look at the second trend. What does this picture tell you? You're probably thinking art gallery, but it's not. It's actually an exhibition where art gets curated for art galleries. What does this have to do with learning? The new trend in learning is around content curation. Maybe in the future it'll become a science. The reason content curation has become such a big buzzword is because there is so much content out there, and you're probably experiencing the same challenge. There's no shortage of knowledge that you can consume, but there's shortage of your attention and your time in terms of focusing. So the question for the learner goes back to what really is out there, which is not the question, but really what is good quality learning and what should I pay attention to that will satisfy me and engage me in the right way. Because the flip side of a lot of online learning content is that if a learner has maybe 1, 2, or 3 bad experiences, he may never come back to online learning. So that's the risk that we run. We need to make sure that we deliver high quality content which learners will pay attention to, and we can only do that by curation. As you saw earlier from the modern learner, our learners have a memory of a goldfish or an attention span of a goldfish. We cannot expect them to consume large amounts of learning content over the whole week and assume that they go back to the office and can successfully apply it with their teams or their peers or in their organization. Learning needs to be fundamentally downsized into smaller pieces so it can be curated and be provided back to the learner. So this is where the role of content curation really comes in. It's the role of the learning team and the learning providers to make sure they were providing the most relevant content by experiencing it, by testing it, by making sure that we're providing the right content curated to the learner before the learner actually experiences it. It's no longer click and drag. It's actually click, experience, filter, curate, and then provide the learner. This picture summarizes it really well. The modern trend that's coming as well is called microlearning. Microlearning really means that we need to take the content that sits out there, curate it, and provide it in bite-sized learning to our learners when they need it, as they need it. Here's another example of microlearning content curation that is in action. You might have heard of the author called Seth Godin. He's a famous author who has written many books, of which one of the really famous ones is The Purple Cow. Recently, Seth has launched an international Alt MBA workshop, and this is how he positions his workshop, that it's 4 weeks, it's part-time, you can do it from where you are, no travel required. There's participants from 27 countries and 35 industries. How the teams' discussions run, how the collaboration works, how they get dedicated coaching, and how projects are managed. So this is fundamentally a different way of delivering an MBA versus the traditional universities that deliver the traditional MBAs. So here's a quick video that you can play to understand really what is microlearning and how it fundamentally changes the way we offer learning going forward. Enjoy the video. I'll see you right back.
When it comes to learning at work, we all want to be great at what we do. But becoming a top performer isn't something that happens all at once. Real improvement is only possible a little bit at a time. That's why microlearning is the most effective approach to workplace training. Microlearning provides short bursts of information that can be applied right away, helping people build the skills they need to be successful at their jobs. Think of these bite-sized pieces of learning like sentences. Each conveys just one complete thought, but when you put a few of them together, you build a more complex idea. Each microlearning moment is made up of a digestible morsel of information combined with a short practice exercise. It's hyper-specific, so you can get the right help right when you need it, like when composing an email, working with new spreadsheet software, or practicing a big speech. Bit by bit, these microlearning moments add up to better job performance today and continual improvement going forward. Microlearning isn't just breaking up content into smaller pieces. It's a way to make learning digestible and effective, transforming not just what you know, but what you actually do every day.
Here's another example of microlearning. This is an app called Advisor that I'm currently using, and I would recommend for all of you to have access to this. Just go and download it. It's free. It doesn't even cost any money. This is a great app of listening to the world's experts on different subjects in 3 minutes or less. Take a look at the red boxes that I've highlighted for you. Seth Godin's tutorial on starting a movement is only 48 seconds long. Or Karen's tutorial on how to increase employee engagement is only 2 minutes long. This might be really useful to make you understand the power of microlearning. The next big trend in learning, I think this picture summarizes it really, really well. This is a network of people that support each other. And this is what we called building your personal learning network. What's very important in building a personal learning network is around who is in your network and what is in your network and the sources of knowledge and learning that you have in your personal learning networks. I truly believe that the future of personal development plans, or PDPs, is going to be building a personal learning network. Here's an example of a personal learning network. It spans in so many different directions. If you just look at the 3 red bubbles, there's a professional connection category, there's blogs and special interest groups, and the third one is thought leadership, formal education, and training and development. Here's another example of a good personal learning network. If you look at the inner circle around the icon, you can see the variety of sources that influence your learning ability in your day-to-day job, in your year-to-year in your career. We have coaching and mentoring starting from the top. Going down to the right, we have professional networks, online communities, professional events, knowledge sources and blogs, external sources of content, internal resources, company training, company resources, your immediate team and the peers that you work with. And don't forget the day-to-day job and what you learn on the job. And there's finally your manager. So the main point here I'd like to emphasize is that a personal learning network is a really good way of looking at how you develop yourself. Another strong message is that it's no longer the days where an employee can go to a manager and say, well, I haven't been developed this year. It's actually the onus lies on the employee themselves, because they need to drive their own learning. They need to know where they can get the content from. They need to know where they need to build the right connections, the networks, and the relationships. And finally, they need to understand the offering of the organization and what they can take from that. The next big trend is video. And we cannot start the slide or the discussion without talking about YouTube. YouTube is by far the largest collection of online videos on any subject that you're looking for. Whether you want to fix a dent in your car, fix a heel on your shoe, or simply find anything of interest, whether it be personal or professional, YouTube has a variety of content. But it goes back to that piece around curation. You don't always know which video you need to look at, and you end up seeing lots of videos that might waste your time. So this is where corporate portals or corporate providers like Udemy, think of Udemy as a YouTube for corporate businesses. If you look at this slide here, how articulate they are in providing a variety of learning content across a variety of subjects on the left-hand sides that can be applicable. The next big provider is LinkedIn Learning. And again, LinkedIn Learning has recently been acquired by LinkedIn, which was formerly called lynda.com. And they again provide a variety of content, especially for the corporate world. There's no shortage of good quality content. The question is, how do you go online and decide which are the ones that you want to watch and design your own learning curriculum for yourself? You don't even need a learning consultant anymore to help you with such tasks. So here's a quick video for you to play on LinkedIn Learning to understand the possibilities. I'll see you right at the end.
Learn more, achieve more. That's the message LinkedIn Learning has for individuals and organizations. Our goal is to help you and your employees discover and learn the skills needed to be productive and successful through a highly personalized, data-driven, engaging learning experience. LinkedIn Learning combines 3 core elements: diverse and high-quality content, personalized curation, and anytime, anywhere convenience. But it begins with content. Our content covers topics employees must have to be successful and topics organizations need to engage, develop, and retain top talent in today's competitive job market. Courses are taught by industry experts, all with real-world experience. Our business library covers courses on leadership and management, talent management, effective communication, strategy, and career development. Our technology library covers in-demand topics, including programming, infrastructure and operations, data science, and networking that are critical to software engineering and IT managers. Our creative library covers topics for CAD and creative professionals, with an emphasis on design and staying on top of emerging trends and technologies. In addition to our diverse content, unique insights from the world's largest professional network allow us to create a personalized learning experience for you and your employees. With 450 million member profiles and billions of engagements on LinkedIn.com, we have a unique view of how jobs, industries, organizations, and skills continually evolve. With this data, we can identify the skills you and your employees need and deliver expert-led courses to help attain those skills. These same insights also empower managers or L&D professionals to easily identify and recommend the most relevant content to their teams and employees. Today's workforce has more competing demands for their time than ever before. To help make it convenient to learn anytime, anywhere, our mobile apps for Android and iOS allow you and your employees to take our industry experts everywhere, including offline. We're proud of our courses and our platform, but mostly, we're proud that millions of people will acquire the skills needed to be more productive and successful. With LinkedIn Learning, we're introducing a revolution in learning and an evolution of you and your organization.
The next big trend that sits on all of this is around mobility. More and more people want to learn at their own time, at their own convenience, anytime, anywhere. Some people like to learn in the morning on their way to work when they're driving their car. They can listen to a video, a podcast, a speaker series, or whatever it might be. Some people would prefer to do the same thing late in the evening. So it really depends on how we provide the content anytime, anywhere for the learner to decide when they choose to engage with it. Here's a nice example of an organization that provides exactly that type of learning. It's a company called Highbrow from the US. What interests me more is the picture that tells a lot. It's the guy going to work. He's just grabbed his cup of coffee. He's got his backpack. He's walking. He's probably going to catch the bus or the train. And it'll be really nice if we can offer some learning to such an employee that's available anytime, anywhere, in small bite-sized chunks, and he can manage his own curriculum. Another example where learning really contributes to improving the performance of a team or the performance of a business or an organization is the following. This is an example of a very mundane business, a franchise organization that basically services mobile printers. They have a bunch of technicians who have to service a range of models across a range of client organizations, and they have to carry stacks of manuals depending on the brand of the photocopier or the printer. This is where the learning team reinvented and reimagined their learning function to say, how do we actually impact performance for this organization? And what they developed was an online learning solution that pretty much helped any technician anywhere in the country network or in the franchise network to be able to search by the model or the make of the printer and find quick resources and tips and guides on how to fix certain problems. So this was almost like a troubleshooting solution, but using a learning approach. So if you look at the photograph here in front of you, you can say it's CLX family of printers, and the topic they chose to find out on was replacing the fuser, and boom, there you go. 3 videos, 19 seconds, 49 seconds, and 59 seconds on that subject were made available to him immediately. He no longer has to carry the manuals. He no longer has to pick up the phone. He can get a solution on his tablet. The next big trend is around user-generated DIY learning. Gone are the days where we spend lots of money to create the slickest and sharpest corporate video. As we get learning to be more and more consumerized, eventually we should get to the stage where learners and employees and our people can equally contribute to content. It's a bit like the Wikipedia example. It shouldn't just be a one-way we push learning to the organization. We should focus on creating the platforms where employees can share with each other by creating their own content and providing it to others to view. I think that's the last big trend in learning that we'd like to see and use within CIB. So hopefully I've convinced you now that the needs have changed and so have the solutions. I just took you through 7 trends that we've seen out in the learning industry, and here's a few more to summarize them all for you. We discuss MOOCs, or massive open online courses. Podcasts are basically audio messages that can be replayed for future use. It can contain important messages, announcements, or quick learning bites on specialist topics. We covered personal learning networks, which is a great way to look at the future of the personal development plan and drive the onus on the employee to drive their own learning. Number 4, content curation. This is really important because learners don't have the time to look outside and figure out what is best for them. We need to play a role in curating the right content at the right time for the right people at the right level so that they can have rich online experiences. Number 5, let's not forget the power of social. Social learning, whether it's a networking event, a gathering, or different formats, is very, very important. People at the end of the day like to come together and talk and connect, and we should not forget that. Number 6, on-demand, just-in-time, anytime, anywhere learning. Number 7, bite-size, or what we call micro-learning, and we need to look at our learning and fundamentally redesign it to make sure that learning is consumed over a period of time when required, rather than at a point in time and they forget the actual knowledge when they need it. Number 8, user-generated, or what we often call in learning and development, dirty learning, which is really the user generates the content, provides it. It doesn't have to be slick. It can be a shaky camera, a voice recording, but it can be used to share expertise or other knowledge with many people. Number 9 is spaced repetition. This is really around making sure of how we reinforce learning after the actual learning event so that people can actually apply the knowledge and use the knowledge over a period of time and test themselves on what they potentially learned a few weeks or a few days ago. Number 10, resources versus courses. Not everything needs to be a training program. Not everything needs to be a course. Sometimes a resource, a PDF, a quick guide, an FAQ document, an FAQ podcast or a video might just suffice. Number 11, let's not forget the importance of on-the-job learning. People learn best by doing. So learning on the job every day as you do your role is still going to be the most powerful form of learning. Number 12, moving from technical and functional skills to do your job to the everyday and future skills. By everyday, we actually refer to what was previously called the soft skills. We believe that soft skills are not soft because they are very hard to learn. Becoming a good leader is not a soft skill. It's not easy to learn. It is difficult. It takes great responsibility and courage to be a leader that others will follow. And future skills talks a lot about the future world of work, the future of your career, of your profession, and how that'll change going forward, and how do we look into the crystal ball to not only manage the skills for today that we need, but also to start building for the future skills that we need going forward. Number 13 is gamification, which is a big trend that talks a lot about how do we make learning fun through using the game theory. And number 14, finally, is something called a flipped classroom, which is a concept where they argue that not everyone has to come into a classroom to consume and learn content. That can actually be done behind the scenes at their own time, anytime, anywhere. And they actually come into the classroom to have the conversation, to share experiences, the social side of learning.